Boys and girls, I'd like to tell you the story of Hansel and Gretel. Hansel is a 9-year-old boy.
Catch, Gretel. Keep your eye on the ball. Catch it, Gretel.
And Gretel is his 6-year-old sister. I caught it, Hansel. I caught it. Cute little dearies, aren't they? So tasty. Hansel and Gretel lived on a farm with their hard-working father. Little good his hard work did. He could hardly get enough food for his family.
Come in, children. It's getting dark. Come have your bread. There's some fresh milk and butter, too.
Hansel and Gretel's jealous stepmother lived there, too.
All he thinks about are those children.
I might as well introduce myself, you see. I'm the witch in the story. So, I'll start at the beginning, where all stories start. Once upon a time, Hansel and Gretel and their father and their stepmother lived on a small farm near the edge of a large forest. The unfortunate year that I met up with Hansel and Gretel was a bad one for farmers. Lack of rain and freezing hailstorms destroyed crops. One night, while Hansel and Gretel lay asleep in bed, their father and stepmother discussed just how bad things were.
Oh, wife, I don't know what to do. What was left of our wheat crop after the drought was destroyed by the hailstorm.
And the vegetable garden, too.
I couldn't save a single plant.
We still have the cows and the chickens, but not enough flour for bread to last us through the winter. We'll starve before we can plant a new crop in the spring.
What's even worse than going hungry is that I'll have to watch my precious children, my Hansel and Gretel, go hungry too.
Well, if you'd gotten rid of them when I told you to, we might have had enough food for just the two of us. Now all four of us will perish. But I've always known that you loved them more than you loved me. How can you bear to see me starve? Take the children. Lose them in the woods.
Enough, wife. I forbid you to speak in such a way. Hansel and Gretel are of my flesh and my blood. How can I send them away to fend for themselves in the woods?
But we can only survive if we get rid of them. Send them away. If we leave them in the woods, we can save ourselves. I'm certain some rich stranger will find them and care for them, probably better than we ever could. And besides, I could give you new children.
Stop it, stop it. I refuse to listen to you any longer.
And they talk about witches being evil. Did you hear what that stepmother wanted to do? She knows very well rich strangers don't just wander about in the woods. Weeks later, things were much worse for Hansel and Gretel and their father and stepmother.
Wife, I had to sell the cow to get enough money to buy flour for bread.
No more fresh milk? No more cheese or butter? Listen to me, husband. Take Hansel and Gretel into the woods and leave them there. There isn't enough food for all of us. Husband, are you listening?
Only a witch could have been better at convincing someone to agree to such an evil plan.
I'll agree to your plan, only because I can't bear to watch Hansel and Gretel go without food. And perhaps a miracle might happen, and my own dear children will be found by someone else, someone to care for them, someone more deserving, more loving and more trustworthy than their father.
But wife, if I do send my children out into the woods, my body might survive this period of hunger, but my heart will be dead within me. For my Hansel and Gretel are my life.
Oh, husband, believe me, it is an act of kindness to leave Hansel and Gretel in the woods. It's best for everyone. You will soon forget your pain.
I'll never lose this ache. Never.
Unknown to Hansel's father and stepmother, he lay awake listening to their plan. Hunger had prevented Hansel from sleeping soundly, and now, after hearing their plan to abandon Gretel and himself in the woods, sorrow and fear made him fully awake. He worried not about his own safety, so much as he worried about how he could protect Gretel from the hardships that they were about to face. And in the hours just before the morning light awakened the world, Hansel thought of a way to save himself and his sister.
Hansel, Gretel, wake up, it's morning. Come downstairs, I've bread for your breakfast. And the last tiny bit of butter to make it sweet. Come, children.
Good morning, Father.
Good morning, Papa. Why, Papa, you look so sad. What's wrong, Papa? Why, Papa, you're crying.
Sweet Gretel. I must have gotten a cinder in my eye. That's all.
Hurry up! Eat your breakfast, Hansel and Gretel. They're all going to the forest. Your father and I have to cut wood for the fireplace. So stop your dawdling. We have a long walk ahead of us.
She just can't wait to lose those children. Hansel's family finished their breakfast and went outside. But Hansel stayed behind and stuffed his pockets with breadcrumbs.
Hansel, let's go, Hansel. Let's go gather wood.
And so off they all went, off into the darkest part of the forest. And with every few steps they took, Hansel dropped a breadcrumb. And when they were in the center of the darkest part of the forest...
Sit down here and rest, children. Your stepmother and I must go look for firewood. Here's some bread for your dinner. Oh, my children, I love you so.
Let's go, husband. Leave them. They'll be fine. Let's go.
Bye, Papa.
Goodbye, Father.
No, I don't like children, unless they're fresh out of the oven and changed into gingerbread. But I'm a witch, and anyone but a witch would have been saddened by the sight of poor Hansel and Gretel waiting and waiting for their father to return for them. But no one came, and the sun set, and still no one came, and the moon rose, but no father, not even a stepmother appeared. It's dark. Papa hasn't returned for us. How will we get back?
Don't worry. As we walked, I left a trail of breadcrumbs to follow. We'll find our home at the end of the trail.
Hansel set off to find the crumbs, but the last one was being eaten by a chipmunk. There was no trail to follow. Hansel and Gretel had no way to get home.
We must sleep in the woods tonight. When it's light, we will find our way home.
Hansel, I'm so cold and hungry.
Sleep, Gretel. Tomorrow we'll find berries to eat. And when we return home, Father will give us breakfast. Sleep now.
And so they spent the night huddled together under a tree. Finally, morning came, and they set off to find their home. But the path that they took led them to my house, my temptingly beautiful gingerbread house. Look, Hansel, a cottage, a gingerbread cottage. How delicious it looks. Oh, look, a candy cane fence.
Don't touch it. We don't know.
Golden-drop flowers, Hansel. Let's eat one, just one.
Well, perhaps we can have a bit of pink icing.
See what I mean? Oh, it tastes so good. Here's where I come in. Who's nibbling on my house? Oh, two dear little children. Come in, come in. There are more goodies inside.
Don't, Gretel.
Come in, children. Don't be afraid. Have some more goodies. They fell for that line about more goodies being inside. When they walked in, I grabbed Hansel and threw him into a cage, and I made Gretel my servant. I planned to get Gretel to help me fatten up Hansel. You foolish, foolish children. I'll give you goodies all right, but only to fatten you up, and then into the oven with you. You'll make a wonderful gingerbread cookie, little boy, and you'll make a wonderful servant, little girl. I was pretty cruel, don't you think? Each day, I made Gretel prepare a feast to give Hansel, and each day I touched his finger to see if he was plump enough to bake. Plump children make the best cookies. But that Hansel outsmarted me, you see. Hansel would give me a twig to feel each time I asked for his finger. Stupid, stupid me. I thought a twig was a finger. After weeks of feeding that boy, I got tired of waiting for him to get fatter. So, Gretel, tired of waiting. Get some wood, lots of wood for the stove. I'm going to bake Hansel today. This is where I made my fatal error. Gretel, is the fire hot enough? I can't tell. Well, look in the oven. Show me how. Stupid child. I've had with you with that scrawny brother of yours. Just lean over and peek in. Watch me. How could I have leaned into that oven? What a fool. That Gretel pushed me right in. Oh, no! Oh! I'm sorry, Mitch. I'm sorry. But I had to save my brother.
Good girl, Gretel. You saved both of us. I'm so proud of you.
And guess who turned up?
Oh, my children, I found you at last. Can you ever forgive me for leaving you? I was so frantic, but you're both safe.
Where is stepmother?
I left her when I realized how evil she was. But let's not think of her. Let's go home. No matter how poor we are, we'll have each other, and together we'll survive, no matter what.
Oh, Father.
You're probably wondering how I can speak if I turned into a gingerbread cookie. Well, a good witch changed me into a human and took away my magical powers. To earn my way, I make gingerbread cookies. Not out of children, but out of flour. Oh, what a terrible life for someone who was as wicked as I was. To make children happy by baking cookies for them. Now, Hansel and Gretel and their father farm together. They share their food. Some years they have more than others, but they have always stayed together. And the wicked stepmother, she works with me in the bakery making icing for the cookies. And we blame each other for our downfall, and so we make each other miserable.
Ah, if you had baked Hansel and Gretel right away, we wouldn't be here. What kind of a witch were you, being fooled into thinking that a twig was a finger?
Quiet, at least I had magical powers. You were wicked without them.
Oh, terrific. You know you with your green skin.
I don't
you
want to
make
hear
me
anything.
go crazy.
Oh, green skin, is it? Well, I'll tell you something about
Oh, you
that.
knucklehead, you can't
Give
tell
me
me
that.
anything about it. Leave that
You're so
alone.
mean.
Oh,
Oh,
stop
Eddie,
pulling my
no.
hair. What is it with
Stop
you?
that.
I hate you.
You're
You're lying.
gonna get it.
Oh.